Do you think I'm a good videographer?
Always see later because maybe not that I like it.
I think I'm pretty good.
Hey guys, welcome back to what I call Mint's Design Adventures. And today's episode is actually quite special to me because it's a project that I really enjoyed. I don't get to do this every day. It was a classroom that a very close friend of mine teaches at. It was so special when we did it, and I know that it made her so happy and it made the kids that come into this space every day so happy. So today we're going to talk about that because it's worth revisiting. So let's talk about the backstory of this project and how I got into it. My friend Laurence, she is a French Montessori teacher. She taught my girls when they were younger at that same school. And she called me and said that she was going back to the school. Now, she had been on hiatus for a year in another school, and she came back to the Montessori and wanted to revisit designing a classroom. Now, we talked about this in the past, but when she came back to this school, they gave her the largest room in the whole school. Really expansive and extremely tall ceilings, which can be challenging in and of itself, right? How do you make such a tall open space feel warm and inviting? But that was actually what I really loved about it. I mean, I can't shy away from a design challenge, especially when it comes to a space for children. Those are my favorite things to design because the freedom and creativity that you have when it comes to children's spaces, you just don't get with other spaces. There is a playfulness that can come out that you can't experiment with in other spaces. So I was super excited to tackle this. So when my friend Laurence called me, she said, hey, I'm coming back to the school, and they gave me this room. And of course, since I said before, my children having gone there, I knew the room well. So immediately she said, please help me. I want to make my coming back to the school really special. My first thought was, I need to create an immersive space because especially when there are children involved, I feel like immersive spaces are of the utmost importance. It's not just about, I think my friend is a wonderful French English Montessori teacher, and I know she's going to be amazing, but how they're going to feel in her classroom, besides what she can give them as a teacher, is equally important. So for me, creating an immersive space that they could feel like they were transported as they are in a French English curriculum, I thought I have to make it feel like they're in a little French village. And it's not just like I'm gonna slap, some stickers on the wall, some wall decals, or paint something. It's not about that. It's really more about the 3D elements that come into play that make them feel like they're really there. So maybe string lights and little flags. And of course, I have this wall decal that creates the scenery that I need. But then it was also infusing the space with rugs on each table where the children would sit, like oriental rugs. And the most challenging part about this all was really keeping myself on a budget because this was a gift that I was giving to my friend. She was turning 50 that year. Don't get mad at me, Laurence, if I said your age at that time. Okay, just saying. But yes, this was a gift out of love for my friend, and it was special. I didn't want to charge her for anything, and I wanted to make sure that I could get what I needed into this space, but still keep myself on a budget. Let's talk about materials and timelines because that's important. So when gathering the materials, I tried to stay mostly on Amazon, to be honest, because I needed things that were going to come quick. The school year was quickly approaching, so I had a very strict timeline. In choosing the materials, I had to make sure the sizing of the decals was appropriate, so that was the first thing I went to. And then the details came afterward. I knew I needed little cushions for when they do circle time as a group, so I searched for that. I knew that the Montessori curriculum demands things that are low and at their eye level, so I had to keep that in mind as well. There were even some awnings that were like birthday party props that I used as a 3D element off the wall to create like shops, fake shops, along the wall over their books and little knickknacks that they use in the classroom to create that 3D element, some flags, some string lights, etc., to make it all come together. But as far as the timeline, I probably had maybe a month, if that. So I had to make sure things came quickly. And because I had such a strict timeline, I had to get my family involved to help me out because we only had one day, literally one day to get this done, one Saturday. So my friend Laurence, the teacher, my girls, Natalia, Sophia, and my husband, Joe, we all came with our tool bag ready to go and our batteries fully charged. And I will say that was quite an adventure. It was exhausting, but the end result, like I said, has been one of my favorite things I've ever done so far. So everyone had jobs. Like I said, my family was involved. My daughter Natalia is an artist, and there are some signs on the wall. You'll see some circular signs like delineating different spaces within the classroom. Sorry, guys. I'm going to pause. And I had her paint those. I gave her instructions on what they needed to say. I had my friend send over the French words of the sections that she wanted. So she painted these, and we had, of course, some 3D elements as well, like little flowers that we stuck on with fabric glue and basically zhuzhed them up to be beautiful and sort of homey, cottage-y, I guess I'm going to say, which would give me that French cottage feeling of a little school in France. And my little one, Sophia, she was the photographer and the filming person that day.
When you're just letting it walk. Why are you like so bad? Stop!
And of course, we can't have an install day without some shenanigans because it can't be all work. It's got to be some play, right? So as with any design install, there are always challenges no matter how well we plan. And I only visited the classroom a handful of times just to take a few measurements, see how many tables there were, etc. So the first challenge is, of course, like the cushions for playtime. They need to be out of the way for when they're not in use. So I was able to get a little caddy that they stored in, and she could wheel them in and wheel them out, and they're tucked away when they're not in use, and that was perfect. But also just the colors of these cushions, I wanted to make sure that they were consistent with the design of the overall project, keeping the rugs in mind, keeping the colors in the decals in mind, etc. The second challenge was a little bit harder to deal with because, of course, I can't move electrical outlets, and I needed to figure out where I was going to be connecting our string lights. So getting creative behind the little Montessori bookshelves, running extension cords behind there, figuring out where to connect them so the cords weren't really seen, and also making sure that my friend Laurence would be able to, every morning when she came in, be able to just quickly snap them on and then quickly turn them off at the end of the day. I didn't want to hide something so much that she couldn't get to it and would have to move a bookshelf, for example. And lastly, the rugs. Getting the rugs to lay flat so nobody trips, because each Montessori group or table was on top of one individual rug. So I needed to get creative on a rug pet situation and bought some corner stickers for the rugs to stay down. That was an all-day challenge. They kept wanting to curl back up, and we kept having to step on them and put weight on them. And anyway, we finally got them done, but everything else went pretty easy. The decals were actually a large challenge, and I mean that literally, a large challenge, because they were actually a wallpaper, like a cityscape on a wallpaper. Well, I didn't need the wallpaper because I'm not going to go all the way up these giant walls. We had to sit there and cut out all these buildings and then figure out where to place them on the wall. It's not a continuous city. Some are on one side, then there's an opening to another classroom, and we had to sort of continue the village on the other side. So I had to be creative and figure out, when I ordered this wallpaper, what the scale of these buildings would be, because you could order this mural in different sizes. So I had to make sure that that was adequate for the height of the classroom. And of course, being that the tables are really low, making sure that it made sense with all of these elements. But then, like I said, just figuring out where to place them behind these bookshelves at what level. What you don't see in the video is that behind the bookcase, I actually started these decals about this way, I'm gonna say 4 inches down. They don't obviously go all the way down to the floor, because that would have been unnecessary for me to have more expense ordering a larger scale in this mural where it's not going to be seen, and then also risking that the buildings looked too big for the space. So in a nutshell, those were my challenges. But again, we had a great time, and I just love how this came out. So my favorite part about this whole thing, it's not just like bringing a vision to life and being happy and satisfied when I see it. The best part of all is when the kids came in. So my friend invited me over for the first day of school because she wanted me to participate in the joy of the kids when they walked in and saw the classroom for the first time. And I have to say that for me, I always get adult clients that are so wowed when they come into their space for the first time after it's been transformed. But watching children and their parents come in is a whole different experience. So I went there that morning, first day of school, and sat at one of the tables, the kids' tables, in the corner, and just observed. And as they started trickling in, some of them would stop at the door and be just shocked and awed about what they were seeing, and they just couldn't even take a step in, and their faces were just all smiles. And as they slowly stepped in, just sort of taking the whole room in, it was so amazing to see. They were like, oh my gosh, and they would just go around and touch the different elements on the walls and look at the 3D awnings that we put in as the little shop fronts. And then the parents would come in and like, oh my gosh, what happened? Oh my god, it's amazing, it's so beautiful, I want to come to school here. That's when I know that I've done my job. When everyone's happy, it makes me feel so special because, as I always say, design, it's not just about visually what it's giving you. That's just one part. The biggest part of design is what it's making you feel. So when I see people come in and they're happy, and I know that these kids are coming into this classroom happy and excited every day to be surrounded by this beautiful setting, that makes all the difference. It's not just how they're going to learn, it's how they're going to feel in the space that makes it truly special. I just want to end this by saying that I loved doing a classroom for my friend. I actually did a separate classroom in her home, which we'll go into in a different video. But if you're a teacher and you feel like you would love something like this, DM me. I would love to work with you. As always, guys, if you love this video and like what I had to say, I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed because it helps us make more content for you to view and for me to share.